Imagine a space for South Asian women where stories are not just told, but actually felt. This is ROOH, Rising Over Obstacles and Healing, brought to you by Jyoti and Monica, two friends who set out to carve a little space and make a difference by sharing stories and fostering healing and strength within our community. We invite you to listen and reflect, finding your own path one story at a time. And just for sticking around, there's a golden biscuit at the end of each episode. Hi, welcome back to ROOH. Happy New Year, everyone. Wishing you a fabulous 2026.
Yeah, Happy New Year to everyone. And thank you for making 2025 such a great year for ROOH. And we look forward to hearing everyone's stories in the upcoming year.
Yeah. And Monica, I was thinking, we heard so many stories in 2025, and I thought, what better way to start the new year than to look back at all the stories that were shared and possibly identify a recurrent theme.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, there was always some sort of a theme with all the stories that we heard. And to me, it seems like the recurrent theme that I can think of was the root cause of all the problems, all the issues that people have faced is the LKK Kahenge syndrome.
Oh, God, don't we hear that?
Call it the...
It is a syndrome. We hear that phrase all the time, right?
Right?
Like whether you're making a decision or just like you're thinking about anything or you've heard of something or something's happened, then all of a sudden it's just a la. Loki Kikenge. You know, it's always worried about those Loki. Like, who are these Loki? I want to find them.
So we're going to call it the LKK syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I thought since our podcast is all about healing and overcoming obstacles that we come across, let's deconstruct what this means, what Loki Kahenge actually means, and how we can actually try to overcome this so that it's not such a governing thought when we're doing something, so that all our actions are not based on Loki Kahenge. What do you say?
Yeah, definitely. We need this as a society to move forward.
Right?
Yeah.
So my hope for 2026, ladies, is that we stop thinking about what Loki Kahenge and actually think about what makes us happy and what helps us to live an authentic life. So I figured one way to do this is to really just kind of deconstruct it all and see how we can actually change our behavior or take little steps to, because it's so easy to say it, right? It's so easy to just be like, I don't care about what people say. I don't care about what people think. But then we're just so wired to always kind of in the back of our minds think about it. So sometimes we take actions that please others without even thinking about the fact that we're doing this simply to please others,
Yeah, totally. And like sometimes it can be like the slightest things. Like you said, like we may apply it to our life. Like, oh, well, I don't care. I'm going to, take on this job or this role. But then the slightest things like, oh, well, if I post this, what's going to someone going to think or say? Or, or if I say this, is it going to come off in a different tone? Or if I wear this to this event, like, is it going to come off as if, I'm trying to look too nice or whatever it could be, right? Like, I feel like there's a little bit of that in all of us or in all our little things that we do, no matter how hard we kind of try to get away from it.
Yeah, no matter how much we try, we do certainly give a lot of importance to what people will say. So I wanted us to come up with some actual, like, tangible, first of all, to just sort of deconstruct this mindset of Loki Kahenge. And I wanted us to come up with some sort of like tangible steps that we can take to just sort of overcome this mindset that we have. Because it is a significant challenge in the South Asian culture, especially, I think, in our culture, it's rooted in collectivism, where family reputation outweighs individual happiness. first of all, Monica, like, where do you think this whole concept of Loki Gigange comes from?
So I know when I was little, it used to really bother me a lot, right? It used
Mm-hmm.
to come up a lot, not even just in my life, but like you said, it's a reoccurring thing. You'd see it in movies and all those things. And you'd be like, why is everyone so concentrated about what's going on? But now, as I step back and I kind of realize how our lives were based in India, anywhere in South Asia, it was really, think of it, we lived in joint families.
Yeah.
So brothers lived together along with parents, siblings, everyone, you grew up together. So whatever's going on in the household, whoever's within that family, they're going to have a say. They're going to know what's going on. And then also within the community, right? Like your neighborhood, everyone knows everyone. So you're really
Yeah.
kind of, like you said, it's that community vibe. Everyone is involved in each other's lives. And,
Mm-hmm.
that saying like, oh, it takes a village to raise a child. Like the villages really did raise the child. So you almost felt a sense of responsibility to not only live up to your parents' expectations, but then there's your grandparents, there's your uncles, there's the neighbors,
Your
and extended
extended family.
family. And you almost feel like there's all eyes are always on you, right?
Yeah.
In a
Yeah.
sense. So then, as a child or whatever it is, the little mistakes are just exaggerated, or they feel like there's also no sense of privacy, like, whatever you want to hide or, may not want some people to know, it's just all of a sudden it's like just spreads like rumors. And,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
just that more pressure of just always having to be perfect and, live this certain way of life.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. And I think times have evolved. So, for better or worse,
Mm-hmm.
we are no longer being raised by a whole village. It's more just a very, nuclear family, just
Yeah.
very, like families are getting sort of smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So now I feel like when you think about the concept of lokinki genge, it's like taking into consideration your like everybody in your circle, basically your
Mm-hmm.
friends, your family, and their family, and just overall, right? So it's like
Yeah.
you're worried about so many people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we have to recognize is that, first of all, this group of people, right, that we worry about, I think we tend to overestimate like how much others actually really think about us. Because honestly, in reality, most people are just too preoccupied with their own lives
Yeah.
and their own fear of lokiki gange to actually judge yours for long, you know?
Yeah, that's a great perspective to add. You know what? It takes a hit to your ego too, right? Because it's like
Yeah.
here you are just worried that everyone is worried or thinking about what you're doing in your life when also they could vice versa be worried, thinking about
Yeah.
themselves. And also they're
Yeah.
worried about what's going on in their life.
Exactly. I feel like nowadays we're just so busy with our own lives that I don't know if people really give other people that much time,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
And the other thing too is you have to understand that, people might gossip for like a day, maybe a week if it's something really like
Mhm.
crazy, right? Like, okay, something really crazy happens and
Mhm.
fine, people will talk about it for a week. But then their lives like move on. They move on
Yeah.
to something else, right? However, you who's made this decision because you're afraid of what Loki Gange, you're stuck with this decision forever.
Mhm.
So you have to really understand that, right? Like you have to understand that, okay, I'm making this decision, whether it's a career choice, whether it's a life partner that you're choosing, whatever it is, you are going to be stuck with this choice forever. People may talk for a day or two or a week or two, and then they move on. It's so sad, right? If you think about it, you've made your life decision based on this one concept, but then after a week or two, that's not even a thought in most people's minds.
Yeah, and also like when you say that, I feel like people who are very opinionated feel like they need to say something. And
Yeah.
someone does make a comment on something in a negative way, I feel like they're going to have something back to say about no matter what it is.
Oh,
Like
oh
you
yeah.
could
Yeah, yeah,
be,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
there's this one saying that I remember growing up, always hearing it from my mom. And she used to say like, she'd say, "Lokanita santmatma no nishadya," which means like
Yeah.
people, they still
Yeah.
have bad things to say about saints. and people who, like godly figures. So what are we humans? Like, you just really need to like not even put it through one ear and out the other, just like, no, block, and that's it. Like, it does not matter.
Yeah. So I think actually that's so true, because no matter how much you conform, someone will always find something to critique.
Yeah.
Like, if you're looking for it, you're going to find something to critique, right?
Yeah.
So I think the first step really is just recognizing that you cannot please everyone. Like, that's your ultimate shortcut to just freedom, you know? Just recognize that you cannot please everyone.
Yes.
I think that alone will save a lot of trouble. But, aside from that, I would say the other thing is you don't have to share every detail of your life with like the extended community.
Oh,
right?
Completely. I agree with that. Yeah.
Like, limit your audience, right? Be selective about who knows your plans before they're finalized, right? If your relatives are like the type that are very prying or judgmental, this is something I have to learn, because I am the master of giving out too much information. You'll say something about like a person will make a comment about like, oh, I love your sweater. I have to tell them when I got it, how I got it, how much it was for, where it was from. Whereas like sometimes I think it's nice to just be very vague. Someone asks you like, hey, so when are you getting married? I'll let you know when there's news to share. Like, oh, have you made a decision on such and such? Well, I'm still looking into it.
Yeah.
I feel like you can still give such like vague answers and kind of get away with it, so that you don't necessarily have to have this like large audience that's like judging you, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes like you can be direct in a respectful way.
If you take ownership of your choice and your decision or whatever it is that you're worried about someone might say, I feel like someone will have kind of less to say about and comment, so it doesn't get slightly confrontational or weird or awkward, right? Like, if you're happy, you're content, someone can see the confidence in what it is that you're deciding to do. They shouldn't, first of all, no one should be making any comments. You should be supporting someone. You should be positive. Of course, if you're a family member, you're worried about something, that's different. But instead of just jumping on the gun and saying, well, this is so bad, what's your life going to turn out to be like? If you marry such and such person or you choose such career path, just own up what it is that you want and, have the defense to say your reasoning. So no one can really talk behind your back or to you to say, because it's like, if I'm like to wear shorts in the winter. I don't know. This just came up to my head right now because I just saw a kid walking shorts right now. Hey, if I want to do that and I'm walking around, I'm like, hey, that's my body. It's my choice. I don't feel cold. No one can make a comment about it because, who are you to hate on me or not to? So,
but people will say, oh my gosh, look at this person. They're going to catch a cold. They're going to get... like, people will say something if you're walking around with shorts on in the middle of winter.
Well, you know what? Think of it this way. Whether you know someone said something or you don't, people are saying something regardless. So might as well just let it be. Don't even give a care. How about that? Try.
So I'm a big believer in, I think a lot of times it's our communication. I feel like it's the way in which we convey information sometimes. There's a way of talking to people, right? So let's say, for example, if someone were to say to me, Jyoti, like, why did you move? Why did you need to do that? What's the reasoning behind it? Like, I can't believe you just like up and moved, right? I could say, it's my life and I choose to do what I want with my life, right? That's one way. The other way could be, I know, it was such a tough decision. And honestly, it kept me awake so many nights. I didn't know if this was the right decision or not. I prayed a lot and I really wanted to make this decision for my kids, for their future, for my family. As heart-wrenching as it was to move away from here, I felt like this was the best choice for my family, for our future. You know what I mean? Like, there's a way that you can also like respond.
I also feel like the way the person asked the question, like you did, like hypothetically right now, like I feel
Yeah.
like the way you responded the first time would have been my natural reaction because it almost felt like a defense mechanism kind of because
Mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm.
way and like you're saying, like there's a way of responding. I feel like there's also a way of asking if
Yes.
you are curious.
But
Yeah.
not everyone's going to be like, oh, sweetheart, sit down and tell me, why did you move? It's more like, what were you thinking? Why'd you move?
Because
Like
in their
how the
mind,
question.
they've automatically already decided that it's something they wouldn't have done. So just because they're not going to do it means it's not right for you, which
Yeah.
isn't the case. Because there's so many things that could be right for me, but they necessarily are not right for you, right? With
Yeah.
your life,
Yeah.
your personality, and vice versa. Like you
Yeah.
cannot just assume that.
Yeah. But I also feel like you cannot control others. You can
Yeah.
only control yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So whether the question is asked in a nice way or not, you're in control of how you want to answer.
I like that. You control the narrative then.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
I think you can still get your point across. You can still talk about it and you can acknowledge because, yeah, sometimes some people are just very afraid of change,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or they're afraid of the unknown, the uncertainties.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can validate their feelings and say, I understand. I, felt the same way. However, at the end, I thought this was the best decision.
Mm-hmm.
Right? As opposed
Yeah.
to like, well, what do you know? You don't know my life. And,
Mm-hmm.
this was right for me. Maybe it wasn't right for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
there's always a way that you can
Mm-hmm.
kind of handle the situation.
Yeah.
So,
Communicate better.
yeah, exactly. I think a lot of issues would be solved by just knowing how to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
So, as we were saying, like one of the ways to overcome this LKK syndrome is one, let's just understand that we are not the main character in anyone else's lives.
Mm-hmm.
We're just like a side character. In some people's lives, we might only have like a temporary guest role,
Yeah.
So why make our decisions based on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And two, set your boundaries. Limit the people that you actually share all your plans with before they're finalized so that nobody has anything to say to you. And if they do, then be direct, but be respectful. Recognize that a lot of times, like your parents or the elders in the community, their fears often stem from their own past trauma or their own like survival instincts or whatnot. When you understand that, you can be compassionate, you can have compassion, and you can validate their feelings without feeling like you have to comply to what they want you to do.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, now me being a parent, I feel like you've lived through that life. So you already know what's going to be a good decision or a bad decision for your children. And then sometimes I feel like we end up trying to decide for them when it shouldn't be
Yeah.
that case. Right.
Yeah.
So that's why we have to remember that for our parents and our elders too, because they're just living their life based on, like you said, what they know, what they came
Yeah.
from, what their
Yeah.
experience has been.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then the other thing too is accept disappointment. Part of growing up is realizing that you might disappoint your parents or
Yeah.
your community, like temporarily, in order to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And understand that it's okay if you disappoint someone. Like their disappointment is their emotion to manage. It's not yours to fix by sacrificing your life.
Yeah.
Right? So I think as a society, we definitely have this people-pleasing complex. And maybe it's as you get older, it's recognizing that it's okay if you disappoint someone here and there. Like you said, I think you said it perfectly before, like people find faults in saints. So you can't really please everybody,
Yeah. Yeah. And, if you're happy, hopefully the ones that actually love you and care for you will see that.
Yeah.
They're the ones that will
Yeah.
recognize that and they'll notice that whatever this is, that decision that you've taken or path, whatever it is, that it's making you a better person. It's making you happy. It's something that you always wanted to do. So
Yeah,
they'll actually cheer for you.
exactly. I feel like this is also a muscle that needs
Mm-hmm.
to be built, right? So, overcoming this whole mindset, it's like taking small steps.
Mm-hmm.
So you start out with making like small choices that go against the grain. Like, you pick a hobby or just your style choice and how you're dressing, or a boundary, like a small boundary that you've set with someone. You start off with that. If it goes well, that's going to increase your confidence, and you're going to slowly sort of start to come into your own,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, I like that.
And if all else fails, build your own family. Seriously.
Yeah.
Find
Right.
find other like-minded individuals
Yeah.
who are also just unlearning these patterns. Surround yourself with others that are like-minded,
Mm-hmm.
and then you only worry about those people.
Yeah.
But jokes apart, I do feel like this is something that as a society we do have to work on. We do have to really shift our mindset about letting this one thought govern everything we do in life.
Yeah, totally. And I think also another viewpoint is if we also stop making little harmless comments that we feel like
Oh,
when,
yes.
that we'll make
Yeah.
on a situation we hear about or, whatever we're observing at the moment. I think those that are around us will also notice, like, well, this person pretty much seems to not kind of be bothered by what others
Yeah.
are doing. So they feel more comfortable around you as well. And
Yeah.
hopefully that also builds their confidence in, well, I can make a mistake or I can take this, leap of faith and this person will have my back, or like they're not someone that's going to, say something negative about whatever it is that I'm doing.
Yeah, I think that's something, it starts with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it starts with you, it starts with me. Like
Mm-hmm.
we have to be mindful to not make these comments, because
Mm-hmm.
that's another recurrent theme. Maybe we need to do like several episodes about the recurring themes that we had last year in all the
Yeah.
stories. But I know the main one for sure was Kya Kahenge, Kya
Right.
Kahenge. But I think also the harmless comments that are actually harmful.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very easy to pass judgment on others. And as I've gotten older, the older I get, the less I know.
Mm. Yeah.
The more I learn, the more I realize there is so much more to learn.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the biggest skills they say that you can, as a human being, for a growth mindset, know is that, like, to unlearn what and to get better at whatever it is, like your thinking, your communication, whatever it is that you're trying to grow as a human being. And if you're able to unlearn and figure out what, there are some skills or habits of yours that you're kind of not liking, and to reset yourself, that's amazing.
Yeah. We talked a lot about the Kya syndrome. And like I had said, it's important to have like a tangible exercise or tangible steps that we can take. We're not going to overcome this mindset in a day or two. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time, and it's going to take actual effort on our part. So I think one of the things that we can do that's a very tangible exercise is a list of what can I do. So when you feel anxious about a judgment or someone's opinion, what you can do is draw a circle, and inside the circle, write only what you can control. For example, you can control your reaction. You can control your boundaries. You can control what your next step would be. So draw a circle, and inside, write what you can control. On the outside of this circle, write what you can't control, which would be the other people's gossip, their disappointment, their reaction. You cannot control that. So I would write that on the outside of the circle, and really just commit to only spending energy on the items that are inside the circle. Don't focus on anything that's on the outside. only what's on the inside of that circle. And I honestly think like if we start to apply that, maybe slowly and slowly, we would care less about what's actually outside that circle, right?
Yeah, I like that because, you're really, in a way, you're giving up control, right?
Yeah.
You're saying like, hey, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So hopefully that eases your anxiety. And it's like you had said, like we can only control our emotions, the way we react to something. So once you know, hey, like this is my story, this is what I can control, you have the ability to be in an emotional state that, doesn't be bothered by any comments that you may or may not be hearing.
Exactly. So I would say that's the golden biscuit today, to focus on what you can control and forget about anything that's outside of that circle.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to leave all our listeners with just one thought. If you're so concerned about someone that's judging you, that's making comments, just think to yourself, is this person someone that I would actually go to for life advice? And if the answer is no, then why are you giving this person the power to edit your life story? Take that power back, my friend.
Oh, hold on. Didn't we start off this episode thinking that we discuss our New Year's resolutions?
Actually, I think that is what we were supposed to talk about, isn't it?
We ourselves started talking about Loki.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, actually, I guess we were supposed to start off with our New Year's resolution. And I know I've made some. Have you made some?
I think I had made one or two.
I think we're going to have to leave it for the next episode now.
Yeah, you guys are going to have to come tune in next week when we stay on topic.
Tune in next week to hear what our New Year's resolutions are. And if you have a resolution that you've made and you want to talk about it, come join us. Mm-hmm. You know where to find us. Leave us a message and we'll connect with you.
All right. So hit us up on our Instagram page. DM us your stories or resolutions that you have for this upcoming year. And then hopefully we can discuss it in next week's episode.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. All right. So we'll be back next week.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to ROOH. We appreciate you joining us as we cultivate a community of strong, empowered women, one story at a time. If you or someone you know has a story you'd like to share, please contact us at roohdaraz@gmail.com. That's ROOHDARAAZ@gmail.com. Also, do us a favor and please share this podcast with your sisters, your mom, your friends, aunties, your eyebrow lady, like any lady you know. You get the idea. Till next time, khush raho, be well.